It's that time of year again. It is time for the D3 BlitzER 2019. Well, folks, welcome.
That was
Again.
fancy.
Oh, thanks.
Wow.
I try. From time to time we try to go the extra mile. I am watching my screen and my CPU will light up right now as
Yeah, you're
it's on my
frozen.
key. Yeah, I am. Indeed, we'll fix that in a second, but you can still hear me, and that's the important part.
The
What's
magic
more
of
important than
live
anything else?
show.
Yeah, what's more important than anything else right now is that we have games lighting up across our screen right now. I'll give you an example of one right now. We've got this is Maritime at Alfred State, for instance, right now. And JB, why don't you tell folks the implications of that while we fix the camera?
Well, other than the fact that there's clearly snow on the ground in upstate New York, the Maritime is really fighting for as good a playoff spot as they possibly can get, and the way they do that is by winning today's game and inching above 500. As one of the three East teams that have clinched a playoff spot due to the fact that Dean is ineligible to go as the ECFC champion, the Privateers are going to go back to the playoffs for the first time in almost a decade, Frank. And the last time they went didn't go so hot for them. I think it was a one and done, a 60-0 kind of game. So they're hoping that they can take care of business today against an Alfred State team which put up 46 points, scored their quarterback scored 7 touchdowns last week. But when you look at sort of similar matchups, they being the Privateers played Gallaudet much tougher than the Pioneers did. So Pioneers and Privateers, how about that? That's quite a mouthful. So there are some implications, mostly seeding for SUNY Maritime, who's the closer they get to 6-4, the better for them. But the chances of them going on a road trip to Mount Union still pretty high, but we'll see.
How about Stevenson and Wilkes?
Yeah, this is a big game for both of these programs. Coach Strock has done an awesome job getting the Colonels out to a 7-1 mark. Stevenson not far behind at 6-2, and both of these teams are really playing basically for second place in the MAC conference and a likely home game in the postseason as part of the MAC CC Bowl series. I know Wilkes has declared for the ECACs, but assuming they finish the season either 8-2 or 7-3, chances of them being picked for one of those MAC CC bowl games is probably pretty high. Same thing with Stevenson. They played Del Val a lot closer than Wilkes did, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not Coach Huddle and the Mustangs can do a similar routine to Wilkes, who really struggled to contain the Del Val offense and special teams. But great season for Wilkes, and they're off and running. And now here we are just outside of Boston. MIT looking to win a game to stay in the hunt for the new MAC championship. They threw a big wrench in things with a overtime win over previously undefeated WPI with a last-second touchdown. And some other special teams heroics with field goals as time expired in regulation to force the OT period. Norwich has been a little hot and cold this season. Matt Dunn, their quarterback, has been ranked as high as 4th in Division III as far as passing yardage. But they sort of struggled and got tripped up on a long road trip down to Washington, D.C., losing in the last 6 or 7 seconds to a Catholic team, which was winless up until that point. So cadets playing for pride and position. MIT is really looking to keep their Pool A playoff hopes alive and set up probably a must-win matchup with Springfield in Week 11. Now, this is one of the big games of the weekend, Frank. Bridgewater State versus Framingham State, the two top programs in the MASCAC. This is basically for a playoff bid, particularly for the Rams, who are so far undefeated in the conference. Looks pretty chilly up there in Massachusetts. I'm guessing it's probably in the 40s. No snow like we saw in upstate New York, but we'll see whether or not the conditions play a role in this game. And wow, look at this. You can always expect these. It's a triple option teams don't take a whole lot of time to get things going, and because here we are, looks like we've got the Mariners already trying to score a touchdown on their first possession. Looks like we missed kickoff, and look at that. Just like that, it looks like we got a you can hear our friend Jaden Daly in the background, and looks like the Mariners wasted little time to get on the board.
How about that as an accident? Because we so didn't plan on that, and we got them right before the score, at least. We got the score in there.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 timing there, Frank. What do we like to say with our friends from the U.S. Merchant Marine? Hey, it's Veterans Day weekend. Shout out to these guys in the Stars and Stripes.
If this opening drive is any indication.
It's good.
Look at that. Wow. That was the first touchdown of week 10. That's what I'm pretty sure. And they're ringing the bell and doing push-ups there in Kings Point. Here's another interesting game, Frank. This is the quote-unquote Pirate Bowl between Mass Maritime out of Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, and the UMass Dartmouth Corsairs, which is another fancy way of saying pirate. So we have got two teams here, and they're kind of playing, I think, for potential New England Bowl bid. The MASCAC is one of the four conferences that's going to throw their hat in the ring here, and UMass Dartmouth is, if I recall, is still near the top of the leaderboard. I think Bridgewater probably holds the tiebreaker on them. But it's not for certain that they would beat them out, or maybe there would be an additional game. So yeah, when you look at the standings, Bridgewater is at 5-1. UMass Dartmouth and WestCon are just behind at 4-2. So should Bridgewater lose today, they would get into a tie, and so it makes things interesting there as far as the New England Bowl is concerned. Let me see. So far, Bridgewater has a win over Mass Dartmouth from back in, week 7, I think, or so. That was the 56-20 game that sort of signaled the return, the strong return of the Bears. But this is one of those games where both teams have winning records, both overall and in conference. And it's kind of fun when you get to say it's a Pirate Bowl. So there you go.
Ahoy!
Ahoy there,
this
baby.
one. This one is underway.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest game of the weekend, arguably, with the Empire 8 championship on the line for Brockport. Alfred trying to look to play the role of spoiler. They are in the running for